Well, welcome to another episode of OTA on the Air. My guest with me today is Jim Ward, who is the new president and CEO of the Truckload Carriers Association. So, Jim, thank you for joining us today.
Appreciate it, Tom. Thank you for having me.
Well, you are not new to the industry for sure. So you definitely come with a lineage. So I guess tell our listeners a little bit about your history with the trucking industry.
Well, you're right. It's kind of an interesting transition. Two things. Number one, I think it's the first time I've been demoted in my career from chairman to president. The good news is you go from a voluntary position to a paid position, so that's kind of nice. But I've spent my whole career in transportation and in a variety of different modes of transportation. Right out of school, I went right to work for the railroad. And worked for the railroad for about 7 years, which ended up ultimately being CSX, Seaboard Coastline, as we've gone through all the mergers. Transitioned out of that role because they were interested in me taking a position in Jacksonville, Florida. At that time, there wasn't a whole lot in Jacksonville, Florida, as they were building their new headquarters. And so I decided I was not going. And so I've had diesel in my blood pretty much from the start, right out of school. But I transitioned then into the transportation industry with Don Bowman, a family-owned company at the crossroads of 70 and 81 in Williamsport, Maryland. And I worked for Don the first 8 years of my career. I came in the safety role, transitioned up through human resources, and left as a VP. I went into the financial services business, had the pleasure of running operating as a managing director for a Willis, which is now known as Willis. It was Willis Caroon then, their risk management services division. They were starting a transportation practice. So I was able to lead that practice for about 8 years before I got myself back into trucking with Don again as the president and CEO of the company. Spent 22 years there, was planning to retire, and this opportunity come up in regards to the presidency with John Leibolt retiring. I knew certainly they were going to be big shoes to fill. But I'm very honored and humbled to have the opportunity to be able to be here working with the TCA staff and, continuing to work with people that I've known for a long time. I've been on both sides of the hallway in the exhibit hall. I've been an exhibitor, and I've been someone walking by them and probably ignoring them when I do walk by. So I know what that feels like. And but I'd like to say, I told everybody I've been in 43 years of training for this role. So we'll see how it works out for everyone.
Well, yeah, and it is not a rare thing in the association world for a chairman or a board member to transition to a staff position. But I guess tell me a little bit about how you feel that will help you in that transition, and then maybe some of the challenges that will provide.
Well, as I said on the stage at the Win in Vegas at our meeting in March, if you're looking for somebody that has leadership knowledge and skills from years of experience, someone that's been able to work alongside a family and run a very successful business, I'm probably your individual. If you're looking for somebody that's got a large association background, has a certification in running associations, I'm certainly not your person. But having said that, I've probably over the years attended 30 plus annual meetings of TCA. I've been a very active member of the American Trucking Association and attended most, if not all, of their annual meetings. I'm a past president or chair, I should say, of the state association, Maryland Motor Truck Association. So I've been in and around the association business as a member, pretty much all my career. And so I've had a chance now I'm getting a chance to see it on the inside of the walls. TCA has an 80-year history of education and training and advocacy for the truckload sector, something that's very near and dear to me and my heart. And so I'm here to be able to work with the staff and our members to continue to move that forward. And I think it's a great opportunity. We have a great foundation with great leadership over the years with TCA, both officers, board of directors, and leadership. And I'm happy to take that baton and continue to move it forward.
So talk to us a little bit about what that future direction looks like. TCA has transitioned very significantly under John. I've been very happy to call him a friend and mentor over the years and learned a lot from him. What's the next evolution? What does TCA look like, in the next 10 years?
Well, we represent the voice of truckload. And as you very well know from your seat, That covers a variety of types of different equipment, dry van, refrigerated, open deck, as people like to call it, or flatbed, and private fleets that we have as members of Truckload Carriers Association. As I've been in this industry over 30 years now, the issues are pretty much the same. They don't change a lot. We keep talking about the same things, and they just keep maturing and come at us in a little different direction. But as I said, TCA's been I think a very strong support mechanism for both education and training for members, as well as advocacy, as I said. So our Truckload Academy, our on-demand platform, we're going to continue to build that out to be able to help our membership stay abreast of things that they need to know as the world continues to change in regards to workforce, in regards to equipment. There's all types of activities taking place out there today. As we all face, probably one of the biggest challenges in truckload from a professional driver recruiting standpoint that I've seen in my career. It's always a challenge, and depending upon the market, sometimes it's more difficult than others. But this is as challenging as I've seen it. So we've become part of the federal apprenticeship program, brought on Fastport to help our members expedite their involvement and become part of this apprenticeship program to hopefully make this a more exciting career for new entrants coming into the industry. And so we're going to continue to work on the education piece of it, and a big part of our education piece is also our benchmarking programs. So DM Bowman Incorporated, where I came from, we were one of the charter members of the benchmarking program for TCA years ago. So I've had a chance to see it grow and develop from the inside out. We have over 100 member participants in the program today, where individuals meet on a regular basis and basically talk about expense line items, not so much revenue line items, and processes by which they've put in place to help them produce these key factors. And so no matter how good you are, when you get amongst 10 or 12 other carriers and start talking about certain key factors and processes that you have in place, you're always going to walk away with something that you can go back and look at, do an assessment of your company, your processes on, and hopefully get better.
Yeah, the benchmarking program that you all have had, I think is, I would argue is probably one of your most successful offerings, the ones that when I talk to my members who are members of TCA has the most value. What do you feel was the key contributor to making that such a successful program for you?
Well, I think many of us have said it over the years that's been on the other side of the industry, managing, transportation companies is the worst thing you can have is a poor competitor. And, we all tend to try to reinvent the wheel, but sometimes the best ideas come from just sitting down and talking with other individuals that are going through some of the same challenges that you are. And, I might be more successful in one area than them, and they may be more successful in another area than me, but learning from each other to be able to continue to effectively manage our costs, better understand our costs, so that we audibly are out here in the marketplace making good decisions when we're working with our customers.
So you talked a little bit about the Truckload Academy. That is your online learning management system that allows that training to go. I guess what are the plans for that, to build that out, and what can folks look for as being offerings as part of that academy?
Well, as many people heard at our annual meeting, we've expanded now the membership to TCA for some of the certificate programs that we have in place, so that now they're not paying by the drink to be able to come in and get some of these levels of certification as they've had in the past. Now it comes with your membership. And so we think that's really important. We think as we continue to raise the professionalism of the industry and the individuals working with the fleets or working inside the fleets, having some level of certification, just like I was talking about the professional drivers through the apprenticeship program, is just going to add another element of excitement and I think give us a better optic as an industry for those people that are involved in our companies.
Yeah, and when I took over the North Dakota Association now 16 years ago, I remember sitting down with one of the search committee members right away, and he said, the one thing you have to know about this industry is it's about the drivers. It is, it's about making sure that we have drivers available to us, and the driver shortage is something that is, as he put it, just around the corner. I guess, what are you seeing, or what's your thoughts on how we dig ourselves out of this workforce shortage in this country? Is it even possible? And how do we as an industry in and of itself make ourselves more marketable to those folks that are, of that age that they would be coming into the industry as a driver?
So let me tell you, Tom, if I had the answer to that, I would not be sitting here at 555 East Braddock Street having this conversation with you, TCA. I'd be off on an island somewhere sipping a mint julep, enjoying myself. And but in all honesty, since I've been in the seat, I've been making a number of calls to a number of our members, letting them know that, look, I'm here, I'm on board, I'm here for you. I'm anxious to hear and learn about your business. I'm also anxious to hear if there's, how's your membership treating you at TCA? And in each of those conversations, I'm not engaged in it very long until I start hearing about the workforce challenge. And it's workforce challenge, it's equipment issues, and now it's inflationary costs with such things as diesel, which is finally exceeding $5 a gallon in a number of different states. And so there's a lot of pressures on carriers out there today. But I do think, and have had the pleasure to, as some individuals have seen and heard, me on Fox News, I've been touting this, that part of the Drive Safe Act is the 18 to 21 years of age individuals, not only operating intrastate, but operating interstate. I'm anxious to see what this 3,000 pilot test program comes up with in regards to the risk factor. Many of us have had them in our companies for years operating intrastate. They've done a pretty effective job for us. And from my standpoint, I think it's the future. Now, we can all continue to work through the churn and take individuals from other individuals, but truckload is where most of these individuals get trained. And so, I think looking at this federal apprenticeship program, looking at this, maybe this next opportunity of 18 to 21-year-olds, continuing to make this lifestyle a better job. I mean, the professional driver is wanting the same thing you and I want every single day. They want to be able to better plan their day. They want to be able to plan themselves around some of their events for their family and their children. And so, the days of the kind of the you call, we haul environment, I've seen many carriers start to transform and transition their companies into, what I would say more professional driver friendly organizations. And I think that's going to be the way of the future if we're going to have an impact on the retention side of it and recruit some of these new individuals coming into the industry.
Yeah, and the data definitely supports that. I mean, you take a look at length of haul, you take a look at the trailer to power ratio that some of the carriers are having. They're seeing increases in the ratio of the number of trailers they have to power units. They can just do, drop and hooks, and then, and then the length of haul has come down considerably, and so has pay. I mean, pay has changed significantly. I think one of my biggest concerns is one that I get from, my work with my college fraternity is there is a population cliff coming. And especially when it comes to males, is we have this huge population cliff that's just around the corner, I think in 2 years, in which the number of males graduating in the United States is going to drop off significantly. How do we as an industry recruit more female drivers into the industry, and then also look outside the traditional driver core that we usually have to be able to make it a more lucrative business?
Well, again, I think it goes back to some of these lifestyle issues and lifestyle changes, and start times and times that you leave work, becoming more flexible with some of them for the spouses or females to be able to have a little more flexibility in what they're doing for a motor carrier from a driving perspective. My experience in my previous life and the company that I had the pleasure of operating on a day-to-day basis, we found that they're very safe, they're very conscientious, they're very service oriented. They have done a great job for our organization. I think that percentage is going to continue to grow in the industry. I think all the technology that we have added to the equipment today, from making it more driver friendly to a safety perspective, has made it more appealing to younger generation, as well as the females and minorities coming into the business. So I think that percentage is just going to continue to grow, and I believe that as this equipment continues to develop over time, that they're going to be a bigger and bigger percentage. And again, I think it's little things that we do. I think from the Truckload Carriers Association, I'll blow our horn a little bit. I mean, we just recently announced 55 scholarships, up over 160 some $1,000 that we just awarded to students out across the nation and from the industry, and making sure that people understand that we as an industry are doing good things like that for young people, and hoping that as they go off to college, they think about us and look back to us as a career, because everything that we talk about, all the backroom services, and we just need to make sure that young people understand, and minorities, the type of job that we're offering nowadays. During my career as chairman, I kept calling it commercial vehicle operator. And I truly believe that, we need to change the stigma of the job, and how we all talk about it. I certainly believe impacts or stereotypes the type of job that it is, or maybe the individual that's in it. And so we just need to continue to raise the bar, no matter what it is we call them. I know many of us call them professional drivers or driving associates, but we've all got a role to play in this, and I think in the end we'll be fine. It'll turn around, and as wages continue to increase, and I'm glad to see they are. And if you listen to some of the public companies on their calls for the first quarter, a lot of them working with their shippers to try to help cover some of the cost of wages that they've been able to pass on to the commercial driver, who, believe me, they certainly deserve it. I'm glad to see that. And when that wage gets at a certain level that people know that they can make a good living for their family in this industry, why I believe we'll start to see the individuals darken our doors and start applying for these jobs.
So I guess talk to us a little bit. You've mentioned it a couple of times. Advocacy is always kind of been part of TCA's backbone, but has never been really kind of the forefront. I think that's one thing that we've seen transition in the last few years is TCA really stepping out and taking a more active role when it comes to advocacy. I guess, what are your thoughts on how that continues under your tenure, and how do we do that in a way where you have some fragmented parts of the industry that tend to maybe not sing out of the same songbook that we do all the time? I guess, what are some of the things that you're seeing in the advocacy realm that TCA is doing, will continue to do, and what are some of the challenges around that?
Well, I would just say this: over my many years of involvement in associations in this industry, 99.9% of the 97% of the time, I think we're all aligned. The thing that starts to separate us is size and weight, and things that we allow. They call themselves the safety advocates. Well, I think we're the safety advocates. I don't think they're the safety advocates. We're the ones out here, our industry, we're the ones expensing the dollars, adding the technology to our equipment, looking out for the general public every single day on our nation's highways, not these individuals that's finding, they're our adversaries. So I just think that all of us have an obligation to make sure that whoever will listen to our story over on Capitol Hill, we're over there telling our story. The more feet we have on the ground over there, the better off we're all going to be. If we're not over there telling our story, somebody else is going to be telling it for us, which isn't really probably very good. So I do encourage our members at TCA to make an effort to come into our September meeting this year. We're going to have a fall business meeting in our call in Washington, as we've done the last few years. Unfortunately, we've been locked down, and it's been virtual, but this year it looks like it's opening up, and so you need to tell your story, whether you're telling it through your state association, the American Trucking Association, TCA. The more of us that are lined up and they see us as a cohesive group over there talking about what we're doing and how we're doing it, it's in everybody's best interest. And I'll tell you, coming out of COVID, it goes back to like our Highway Angel program for recognizing the drivers that are on the road for the good deeds they're involved in. Our industry is at a very high level from an image perspective. So what a great time when you're trying to shape policy to be going over here and having conversations with the individuals on the Hill. And some people have said to me, well, it's election year. What's going to happen? I said, well, look, there's a lot of things that's being talked about right now, whether it's speed limiters, whether it's detention time, overtime, whatever it might be. Now's the time to talk to these people, get a feel for what they're thinking, how they might vote on something like this. And then it's our responsibility then to hold them accountable for when that time comes, if and when it comes. And so, I don't think you ever leave up. I think you keep your foot on the pedal all the time. We're not ATA. ATA, as you very well know, they're a Capitol Hill machine. But we know that and Chris and I have had these conversations, 99.97% of the time, we're going to align. When we don't, we got to make sure that we have enough dry powder from a government affairs perspective, and we've got our membership ready, and people know who we are in Capitol Hill, so we can go over and best represent our membership.
Yeah, I mean, and that's always been, you know, the way we've operated, and the relationship that I've always seen is, as an industry, we can get a lot of stuff done if we work together. And the times that we can't work together, we need to find ways to, you know, to find the common ground in that. Because if you go in that, and as you know, if you go up to into the halls of Congress, or even at a state house level, and the industry is fragmented in any way, that's what they will hone in on, is that fragmentation that's there. And you know, we as a state trucking association execs dub the quote unquote safety groups as the anti-truck groups, because that's basically what they advocate for, is just no trucks instead of safer trucks, which is what we advocate for. So yeah, always a challenge. You know, TCA, moving on, TCA has always had, and I'm probably getting myself a little trouble with my friends at ATA on this one, but has always had, you know, one of the best annual conferences that I've ever got a chance to attend, and I've gotten so much value out of that. I was really bummed out that I had to miss in this year annual conference in Vegas in March, but I guess talk to us a little bit about what that future of that annual conference looks like, the attendance levels that you are starting to see come back now post-COVID. You know, what does that world look like for you all moving forward?
Well, I mean, we had a phenomenal conference in March, as you very well heard about, and over 1,500 attendees out at the Wynn in Las Vegas, coming off a September meeting at the same location in the Wynn in Las Vegas because of the cancellation that we had in Nashville, Tennessee, with about 1,200 people really in September. So I was amazed at the officers group, the board of directors, and our staff here at TCA, how they pulled off just a phenomenal meeting, you know, basically 6 months apart like we did. Really encouraging. I think it shows the momentum of TCA as we currently speak. Our membership is continuously growing. You know, we made the announcement just before we went into the annual meeting that we for the first time in probably a decade have exceeded 800 plus members and growing. And a significant portion of that is carrier members. So we're pretty excited about the direction that we see TCA moving in. The content is always a challenge, and we've had a education task force here inside of TCA that includes some members and all working on our content to make sure it's timely and relevant, and we continue to work to get the CEO, C-suite level individuals, not taken away from anybody else, but we want them there for at least a good day of good executive education information that they can take a couple tidbits back home with them and you know, reassess what they're doing in their business. And so we've been very fortunate, and it's going very well. And the plan is to continue. We had a meeting yesterday already talking about next year's annual meeting, starting to lay out the plans. And I think, you know, you plan early and plan well, and good things happen. And so we have, to that point, we also have safety and security coming up. It's June 5th to 7th in Nashville, Tennessee. This morning we had a visit about it, and our numbers are far in excess of where they were last year. This time, 4 weeks out, we had a tremendous turnout last year. It looks like this year's turnout is going to blow last year out of the water if things continue down the path they're on right now, and we have no reason to believe they won't. We have a great committee for our safety and security division, and that's what it's all about. It's all about having the right people, you know, making the right decisions about content, getting the best speakers that are identified in certain key areas that people want to talk about, talking about what they're doing and educating everyone. And so we're going to continue on that path. You know, we believe if you offer a great program, it brings back more people next year. And so we're going to continue that. Our refrigerated meeting is going to be July 27th and 29th at Grand Traverse Resort and Spa in Traverse City, Michigan. We already have about 3 or 4 times more registrants right now, 11 weeks out, than we had last year this time. And it's all refrigerated. We have, through the committee that's being led by Trevor Kurtz, our chairman for the refrigerated division, this year's all about refrigerated. It's all the issues associated with refrigerated equipment, refrigerated technicians, refrigerated driver hiring. I mean, that's the program. So we say built for refrigerated, communicated to refrigerated for refrigerated carriers this year. So we think it's going to be good, and we're excited about it. So, from your seat that these things don't happen without the right people doing the right things and adding the right value to the membership through the offering. And so we're going to continue on that path.
Good. Yeah. And so I guess give us a little bit of insight, what has been probably, so you've been there now about 2 months. What has been the most interesting thing that has happened, that you've gone from being chairman to the chief elected officer to now the chief staff officer, the chief paid officer? What has been the biggest aha moment that you've had that you really never knew from the chairman's seat that you now know from the president and CEO seat?
So I don't want to push my 90 days too quick. It's not been quite 2 months. It's 5 weeks, starting this week. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know that there's been any real surprises. I mean, it's a pretty well run organization. It's an association from my perspective. A lot of good processes and systems in place. Some really capable people. From a resource perspective, I'm really shocked at how much our staff gets done with 12 people. I mean, I'm the 13th, but it's pretty incredible. And so continuing to be able to effectively utilize the technology, the communication tools, the marketing tools that we have available to us, and keep everybody on the same page, working on some of the same opportunities as we're looking at. I mentioned safety and security. I mentioned refrigerated, already starting to work on next year's annual meeting, monitoring what's going on Capitol Hill. There's a lot of moving parts, but it's been a real eye-opening experience for me as to how much we really do and get done with the limited number of staff that we actually have here at TCA. So from a member's perspective, I'm giving them a shout out. I still kind of look at myself. I'm in that transition mode from the other side to this side. I'm not just sure that I had that same level of respect attending meetings and attending the annual meetings and things that you're involved in as an officer as I do now being inside the walls here at TCA. So I certainly give a huge shout out to the TCA staff.
Well, good. Jim, thank you so much for joining us on OTA on the air, and very much looking forward to your continued transition into TCA, into the executive role, and here to support you in that endeavor. So thank you for joining us.
Tom, thank you very much for having me. Anything we can do to help you, please don't ever hesitate to give us a jingle. If you're in the area, let us know. Godspeed and God bless.